from Bundesliga Back of the Net, and welcome to BarnBurner TV Network on Zingo TV Channel 250. Please remember to download both the BarnBurner and Zingo TV apps in their respective iOS and Android app stores. While you download, please make sure to rate and leave a comment, and remember both apps are free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nathan Fernandez, and welcome to another episode of Bundesliga Back of the Net. I am once again joined by my good friend and soccer expert, Mr. Thivian V. Thivian, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, and you know what? Thank God for International Week to be over. Now we can finally get back to the action of Bundesliga action and many of the top leagues in
Yeah,
Europe.
I know. I felt like just because of the whole COVID situation, having this international break kind of put a hold on, and just you felt like something was missing this whole weekend. I don't know. I was just feeling like really like what was there to watch? You only had there was a big game between England and Belgium, and then Portugal.
England versus Denmark, where Harry Maguire got a red card.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I didn't
shock.
know. I didn't tune into that game. For me, when it comes to international breaks, I'm either watching Canada or those big games where there's two big teams facing each other.
For sure.
Anyways, Vivian, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about, obviously, there was no Bundesliga action this past weekend. So we're going to be talking about some of the biggest transfers. We're going to stay on the same topic like we did the other day on Tuesdays, and we're going to talk about transfers. So everyone knows that the Bundesliga and German soccer are do an amazing job when it comes to developing talent. You look at German soccer as a whole, and they are always considered as a top level international team who is producing generational talent like year in, year out. And once again, like you look at the Bundesliga, if players need time to develop, want some first team action, they go to the Bundesliga. We've seen this with players like Jadon Sancho, who left Man City to go to Borussia Dortmund, and now he's lit up the Bundesliga and is now one of the top prospects in world football. Another person, Reece Nelson, went on loan from Arsenal, went to play in Hoffenheim,
Hmm.
had his chance there, and has now come back a completely different player. So,
Hmm.
Thivian, I want to ask you first of all, what is it about German soccer and the Bundesliga? How do they produce the likes of, how does German soccer in general, how do they produce these world class players every single year?
I do want to also add on as well. They really have revived careers as well when coming to the Bundesliga. You look at Kevin De Bruyne, wasn't favored in Chelsea, came to the Bundesliga, you know, ripped it apart with high assist numbers and everything. Came back to the Premier League and absolutely done a beautiful thing. And I think that really epitomized what the Bundesliga about, giving young people chances into the game, let them thrive and everything, and I bet the community as well is way more, I would say, welcoming as well, especially with the culture in German culture as well. You look at with Alfonso Davies, he looks quite at home in the Bundesliga. I feel like same thing with Jadon Sancho and Reina and so many new and upcoming prospects that are coming in the Bundesliga. I think that's a really really underrated thing in the Bundesliga
Yeah, for
compared to many
me,
of the leagues.
Yeah, for me also, it's got to be the mindset. Like you look at German soccer in general, it's not all about flair and skill. It's about hard work, working as a team. You look at some of the teams that Germany has had over the past few years. Their single teams, they're not the best players in the world, but they bring their own level of quality, and they all play. Germany always plays as 11 players on the pitch playing as one team. You don't have your teams like, I hate to bring Ronaldo and Messi up, but you look at them, and Ronaldo and Messi are two of probably the greatest players ever to play the game, and they're playing in teams which rely on their individual talent to succeed. Obviously, now you're seeing teams like Portugal starting to get a few more talented players in the squad, but Germany, they kind of they know how to work as a team, and they're always giving it their all for their teammates. And I
Mhm.
think that's probably, for me at least, as a fan watching, that's probably the key to their success Like
Hmm.
maybe they teach that in the Bundesliga and their coaches there, because you see that now. Like you were saying, players like Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic, who used to
Yeah.
play for Germany, and Alfonso Davies. Those players have been taught to work hard, take the chances they're given, and like for example, Alfonso Davies, for example, he's he comes to Germany. He's played all his life as a winger, and now he's playing as a left back, something it's completely new to him. And I wonder if he was playing in another league, another team, or another system, would he be willing to take that left back spot role? And you wonder, maybe it's the German mentality that have taught him, like, this is your chance. This is the chance you're going to get in a team like Bayern, where there's a lot of talented wingers. You either take your chance here and do well and try your best, or maybe we're not the right people for you. And I think that's what that's a really good thing about German soccer. Anyways, so I love how you brought up the fact about Kevin De Bruyne and reviving careers, and as such, as we saw Kevin De Bruyne leave Chelsea, go to Wolfsburg, and now he's come back to Man City and torn up the Premier League. So now we're going to talk about some of the players who have left the Bundesliga this year, players who now expect to have that kind of Kevin De Bruyne type role in their respective teams. So this year in the Bundesliga, there's probably four big transfers that we should probably talk about, and
Hmm.
starting off with Weston McKennie. Now, Weston McKennie left Schalke and he joined Juventus on a season-long loan with a permanent option. And if they do trigger it, if Juventus do trigger the option, it's an 18.5 million fee plus 7 million in add-ons. Now, Weston McKennie at Juventus, he's going to be earning about 2.95 million in a year. And for the 22-year-old American, that's a great salary, thinking like he's come from Schalke
Right,
to
right.
Juventus. Weston McKennie is a typical box to box, kind of deep lying midfielder. So I want to ask you, now he's moved from Schalke, where he's probably the best player in the team at Schalke. Obviously, there's other good players like last season with Caligiuri and Burgstaller, but now he's moving to Juventus. It's a whole nother game. He's not the best player on the pitch, but like his qualities and what he brings to Juventus, do you see like where does he fit in that pecking order? Like when he comes to Juventus, because obviously they
Mhm.
had the departures of Blaise Matuidi and Emery Chan is left, and Sami Khedira's kind of
Mhm.
experiencing like a career downfall. So do you expect Weston McKennie to kind of slot into that Juventus lineup? Like what does he bring to Juventus, you feel? And is he someone they needed?
The thing about Juventus for a very long time is they always tend to buy a lot of aging players that are, down in their career and then pretty much bring him. You saw with Andrea Pirlo, he was the best at Milan and he was down in the pecking order. Juventus got him up and, used him. And same with Gonzalo Higuain and everything. But now you're
Mhm.
seeing a lot with their transfer policy. They got Artur, which is also another young player and could be one for the future. And they're also getting like Weston McKennie, who's also a box to box midfield. And they still have a lot of experienced players to help him around and everything, to help him integrate it. And he has started in the games, in the first two games. Of course,
Yeah,
the third one,
yeah.
obvious reasons they canceled it and they gave
Yeah,
them the win.
Napoli,
Really.
right? Yeah, Napoli had to forfeit that game.
Yeah.
So basically, like from what you're saying and what I'm trying to understand is, you feel that there's a shift in the mentality in the Juventus kind of transfer policy in their management there. They want to move
Hmm.
away from bringing in these old, kind of already superb talents, and now moving into these younger players who they can hopefully mold into world talents.
I think so as well, right? And then you want to have that, and then you still have players like Ronaldo, who still is quality at the tender age of, I believe he's 35, he's going into 36. And with that balance and everything, hopefully these players can kind of rejuvenize their team as a whole and win like in European competitions, because that's something that's they've been struggling for a very long time. And
Hmm.
Bayern Munich, you got to say they've done a successful transition from when they had their treble winning side in 2013 to winning another treble with you still have a couple of players from before, like Muller. Um, who else?
Like Javi Martinez is still there.
Yeah.
Boateng is there.
Oh yeah, Boateng. Yeah,
Neuer,
right.
yeah,
Boateng, Neuer, right? Those experienced players, and
yeah,
then you have new players coming in like Robert Lewandowski. Um, well, I mean, I'm talking about when they last won the treble and everything,
yeah.
like Robert
Like
Lewandowski, Alphonso Davies, those young Gnabry,
Coleman as well. Like,
Coleman as well, right?
yeah.
So what Bayern's done, as much as people may hate them and everything, they've done it correctly, the way they gone about their business and everything. And a lot of people need to look at that as like, right, you know what? If I want to stay on top, I need to make a similar transition like
Hmm.
that as well. And I think Juventus is looking upon that going
Yeah,
forward.
yeah. I think that was really well said. I really like the fact that you brought up Bayern. They're a perfect example of moving away from their old great team and now kind of bringing in some newer players to kind of rejuvenate the squad. So, like I said before, like Weston McKennie, that's what he's supposed to bring to Juventus. He obviously brings his quality, but he's expected to learn from the older players and kind of take over that role in Juventus. So now moving on to a Bayern Munich player, like we said before, who did win the treble this year. He has now joined Liverpool. It is Thiago. Thiago joined Liverpool on a 4-year contract. He had just 1 year left on his contract with Bayern Munich, so Liverpool were able to get him for a bargain, paying just 20 million with a potential 5 million in add-ons. At 29 years old, he's probably one of the most skillful and creative central midfielders out there. He made his debut against Chelsea at halftime and he completed 75 successful passes. That is the most ever recorded in one half since 2003. That's when Opta, the stats company, started tracking. So far that's an insane number of successful passes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just thinking, like I'm looking at Liverpool right now. Liverpool have had a great year, a great few years actually. They
Mm-hmm.
won the Champions League, and then they won the league last year, and they absolutely bossed every team. So now I want to ask you, like you've got the Liverpool jersey on, clearly a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Thiago, is he someone that Liverpool needed, or is he just like a luxury? You feel?
I mean, to say that he's not needed is an understatement. I think, when you really look at a player like them, you definitely want him in your team and for the rightful reasons as well. When I saw Liverpool last season, I think in the first half of the season, we were very creative, very innovative, trying to know the players and try to adjust to their strength, find their weaknesses and play towards it.
Hmm.
Although in the second half of the season, we finally see that we were being founded out. We tend to play a lot, very direct as well, with our fullbacks and everything, which are absolutely fantastic, and trying to play towards their strengths and everything. But the problem and the issue was the midfield, and I think it was down to not having a lot of control in that midfield. And what Thiago's done for Bayern Munich, and this is why he's been applauded as well, is because how he was able to keep the tempo, keep them ticking on, right? So
Hmm.
you're talking about the pass completions. Over the last 5 years, he's pretty much had 90% pass completion, which is absolutely amazing. Now, what does it mean in the context of being in the team and everything is he'll be able to kind of be that metronome. So he'll be able to make those passes and everything, right? Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, his strengths were not because of his assist numbers or his goal numbers. His strengths were to try to make sure that right things are ticking, things are moving, swiftly and everything, and to
Hmm.
find those like passes where like you can start something as well. And I think Thiago does all that in abundance. His tackling numbers are fantastic, and if you really look at his passing numbers compared to the people around him, um, he's far beyond any of them. And I think the only person that comes close to it is Naby Keita. And I think having a player like him, and I think I know it was a 10-man Chelsea and everything,
Yeah.
but you clearly see that the way they were passing was way more smoother and everything. And bringing a player like him would also make the other players around him better. That's just who he is.
Hmm.
He's already had that tutelage and everything with Pep Guardiola and developing his trait throughout Bayern Munich. And he felt it was the right time that, what? Liverpool is a team that's just won the Premier League and everything. I can come in and make that team better. And I genuinely think, right? And I think it was very needed considering the results we got over the
Yeah.
past couple of game weeks and everything.
Yeah, against a pretty poor
Yeah,
performance against
but
Aston Villa.
I genuinely think though that he's definitely going to be the player or one of the players of the Premier League this season. It's just a matter of whether he can be injury free or not.
Mhm.
We'll wait and see.
I like how you brought up Naby Keita, another export of the Bundesliga. But just very quickly before we move on to our other players, I just want to ask you, Liverpool, they're obviously not going to change their front three. They're not going to change their back four. So Thiago coming into the midfield, Liverpool last year, he's kind of stuck with the midfield of Fabinho, Henderson, and Gini Wijnaldum. Out of those three, who are you replacing with Thiago? Obviously, Fabinho brings a completely different style to the game. He's a more defensive kind of midfielder. So now you're looking at Jordan Henderson and Wijnaldum. Jordan Henderson is the captain, so obviously there's a leadership voice in there. Do you feel like Gini Wijnaldum, despite having such a great year last year, does he will he feel hard done by if he gets replaced by Thiago?
I mean, it really depends on the way we play as well. Like we already seen in the season where we have injury problems as well. I don't think Wijnaldum. He knows that he's getting older as well. He understands that. There was rumors of him going to Barcelona as well, so he knows that he's pretty much his time is almost over with Liverpool.
Hmm.
Um, I think there'll still be opportunities with him. Like let's just say we don't have enough center backs. Fabinho may drop down, and then Thiago may play as that number six, right? But I can
Yeah.
also see that definitely there'll be times where, if you want, that Fabinho will play as that number six role, and then Thiago will play as a number eight with Henderson and everything. And we talk about Henderson as well. A funny fact is that Henderson, when he plays on our team, we have a higher win percentage than when he's not in our team as well.
Hmm.
So then having someone as a Thiago, which I think has done brilliantly, even though it was only like it was 10-man Chelsea, it was only the second half, but still you've seen signs that even with him not having a proper training session and everything, he's going to be quality 100%.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, no, it's exciting to see, like, to think about what he could bring to that Liverpool team. Anyways, moving on to another team in the Premier League that picked up two massive stars from the Bundesliga is Chelsea. Now we're going to start off with the first one. Timo Werner moved from RB Leipzig to Chelsea when Chelsea triggered his 47.5 million release clause. First of
mhm.
all, for a player like Werner, that's a bargain in itself, and he's signed to a 5-year contract. He's 24 years old, a pretty young forward, known for his agility and pace and his eye for goal. While he's not the biggest, strongest player on the pitch, he excels because of his movement off the ball and his kind of willingness to drop deeper to kind of pick up the ball. He has kind of endured a like a slow start to his life at Chelsea, failing to score in any of his 4 starts in the league. However, he did score his first goal against Tottenham in the EFL
League.
Cup. Yeah. First of all, I want to ask you, um, Chelsea for the past few years, they've never had a forward like they haven't had a forward like Werner for years now. You've seen last year they had forwards like Olivier Giroud and Michi Batshuayi. The last time I can remember Chelsea having a player like Werner was back in the days when they had Didier Drogba and Samuel Eto'o, and even Fernando Torres to some extent. Do you feel like what will Werner bring to this team? Do you feel?
I think, of course, we talk about Werner. He hasn't been scoring yet, and the more time you haven't scored as a striker and everything, the more time pressure is going to be put onto you, right?
Hmm.
We saw with Alvaro Morata where he started off pretty well, and then he went on a big spell where he hasn't scored and everything, and that just done his confidence by a lot and everything.
Yeah.
But what brings and everything, and I think hopefully that maybe with someone like a Christian Pulisic could pretty much, do the same thing that's Werner's done, like drop back and everything, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, more when I see more of this though, the movement of him, I could see why Liverpool also was going for him as well. You know what I mean? Like you see Firmino does a similar thing as well as a false nine.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like if you have maybe like Pulisic and everything, who can also maybe like drop back more and everything, because he's more of like that kind of creative piece and everything. It'll
Yeah.
give less pressure on Werner to do that, and Werner can finally maybe go into the box and try to score and everything, right?
Hmm.
And I think that, that's very crucial because at the end of the day, you want him to be, as much as let him do like the defensive work at the end of the day. You want him to be one of those guys that's in the box and everything and scoring, right? So. Uh, I've seen him in the Bundesliga. I think he's absolutely quality, especially when he comes in with his runs and everything. And hopefully he can show it in the Premier League sooner rather than later.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully. One other new player joining Chelsea from the Bundesliga who has endured a much better start than
Hmm.
Timo Werner is Kai Havertz. Now, Kai Havertz joined Chelsea from Bayer Leverkusen on a 5-year contract. The transfer fee was about 62 million, but it could rise to 71 million with add-ons. Kai Havertz is a 21-year-old creative midfielder who's known for his technical ability, and he's drawn comparisons to the likes of Mesut Ozil, Tony Kroos, Michael Ballack, um, who were some fantastic players. And you're thinking at 21 years old with that level of skill, what like he's now bringing a whole nother side to Chelsea's midfield. Because you think of Chelsea's midfield before, they had the likes of Willian and N'Golo Kante, Kovacic, who are not the most creative type players. They're like Kante is more defensive. Kovacic is more like a central midfielder. So Havertz brings a whole nother side to Chelsea's game. But now I want to ask you: is Chelsea also signed Hakim Ziyech from Ajax? Now I would say Havertz and Ziyech are kind of similar players. Do you feel like Chelsea maybe made a mistake there, bringing in two similar players, or do you,
The thing is, right, when I think of Hakim Ziyech as well, and I was thinking about this as well, but you saw Ziyech, he's also played right mid as well. So
yeah,
then I would see like when Ziyech is fully fit and everything, he'll be in like the right mid. He'll be kind of like the cutting midfielder that cuts in and everything. You got Pulisic, who'll be kind of like out and out, that winger and everything. You have Kai Havertz is at number 10, and I've seen him before playing, and I've seen spurts of what he can do, where he's trying to unlock passes and everything. And then you have Timo Werner up front. That is a pretty good front line and everything. The only issue is like a lot of players they're injured and everything, right?
yeah.
But hopefully when they do come together and everything, you'll see more of Kai Havertz and what he can do. He's a little bit of everything according to the statistics, people with the analytics and everything. Like he can play, as a winger, he can play as like a box midfielder, and he can do all that and everything. But I think his
Mhm.
very strong point to this Chelsea side is to play that number 10 role. And we've seen a couple of his performances where he actually looked pretty decent, right? But of course, with the price tag and everything, you're expected to perform at a really high level. Otherwise, you will get criticized and everything.
Mhm.
And hopefully, he does do it. I wish him all the best. Yes, but so far he's done all right.
Yeah, no, I certainly hope has a great career as well. He has done well, I'd say, over the past 5 games. He scored his first ever career hat trick in a 6-0 win over Barnsley in the EFL Cup, and he so far has 1 assist in the league. So now you're looking at the Chelsea squad. You have Christian Pulisic, former a player who used to play in the Bundesliga. You have Timo Werner in the middle. You have Hakim Ziyech in the front on the right, and then you have Werner in the at the number
Number
10.
10, yep.
So you're thinking like Chelsea has an insane amount of players going forward now, but then you look at their defense and you're wondering, is that where they're going to slip up? Who knows?
Well, I mean, they got Thiago Silva, so maybe that might help a little bit. And they got Mendy's now. Eduardo Mendy got injured, so now they're gonna have to
Yeah, they
play
play Kepa, right?
Kepa. Yeah, but he did get a clean sheet against Portugal. So I mean, hey, the only player so far to get a clean sheet against Ronaldo this season.
Yeah.
I'm giving some hope for you, Chelsea fans, if any of you are watching.
Yeah, anyways, guys, that is all we have time for today's show of Bundesliga Back of the Net. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you, Vivian, for joining me once again. Ladies and gentlemen, this show can be heard on all of BarnBurner Radio Network's 122 platforms. Please check us out at barnburner.ca for all of the sports news. BarnBurner, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.